In this video, I'm gonna break down the breakthrough that I had to double my business. I'm Dr. Dan, and I've actually done this twice where I've doubled my business, and I'm gonna break down the single biggest breakthrough that I had that may shock you to double my businesses. So when you think about doubling your business, double your revenue, double your impact, double your time freedom, whatever that you would define as double, I want you to think about right now, what do you feel like it's gonna take? Because if you would ask me this question 15 years ago, how to double my business, I would have told you one of five things. I'm gonna have to double my leads, I'm gonna have to double my conversions, I'm gonna have to double my team or add team members, I'm gonna have to change my location, I'm gonna have to increase my offers. Some of those things I did as a result of the breakthrough I had in order to double my business, but those weren't the key ingredients. I didn't start with more leads, more conversions, better team, more offers, different location. None of those were on the board. And this is the biggest thing. I really need to make sure you understand this because I deal with so many entrepreneurs, I coach them, I mentor them, and often they come to me thinking they're gonna need all these things, which aren't bad questions. It's just that if you're looking for a breakthrough, if you really wanna double your business, it's gonna take one key ingredient above all else. And I know that seems too simple to be true. And I know it sounds like I'm trying to convince you of something. But the reality is this, I have evaluated hundreds of entrepreneurs who have doubled their businesses in less than 5 years. And we've established the key ingredient to establish breakthrough in order to double your business. So if you've never heard my story, I'll keep it short, but I had no really business in being in business. If I look about how I was raised, I'm a middle child, huge introvert, very shy. Grew up not really having a voice because I just paid attention to everybody else. You're a middle child, so there's a lot going on. I just took it all in. I didn't want to make my dad or my mom have to focus on me because then the attention would be off of survival, which I saw them do. And the thing that I was most inspired by growing up was my brothers and playing sports. So I did not communicate very well. In college, I took 2 English classes so I could avoid taking a speech class. When I was a junior in high school, speech class was one of the worst classes I've ever taken in my life. To have to speak in front of people would make me so scared that I hated going to that class. And so I tell you that because I had really no business in being a communicator or a salesperson or a speaker or an author or a professor or an Olympic team doctor or building multiple 7-figure businesses both online and in a physical practice. I had no business doing that if you look at it on paper. But what happened to me in 2008 was very fascinating, and that was that I learned that I could be myself. And through a series of events, some traumatic and very emotional, I ended up sharing my story and I found out that I was enough. Through trial and error, I gained a level of confidence that I could be me, that I did have value, that I did have worth, and that what I spoke and that I gave value or that I helped people, they responded. And so it started with me being convicted of something inside. I'm telling you this right now because you must start from a place. And again, you can do what you want. I'm telling you, those that double their business start from a place where they're so convicted of this thing, but they know they're not maximizing their influence. They're not maximizing their impact. And that's where I found myself in 2008. I knew I had this thing. I knew I could help people. I knew I was meant for more. And I know that's cliche, but I just did. Yet I wasn't seeing it in the fruits of my labor. I wasn't seeing it in my business until that one day when I realized my story was enough. I was enough. Like I could do it. And through this experience that I was gaining, I realized I didn't have to be like my mentors anymore. I didn't have to sound like somebody else. I could be me. It was a huge breakthrough. But the breakthrough wasn't just I could be me. The breakthrough was that I had confidence. The breakthrough was that I no longer felt like an imposter. Imposter! The breakthrough was that my self-doubt that always kept coming up, I found a way to shove it down. Why? Because I realized I'm enough. I realized I could do it. I realized I am doing it. And the more and more that I became in tune with what my unique voice was, the more success I had. And from 2008 to 2010, I literally doubled my business from $500,000 income to over $1 million income per year within 2 years. And that was 12 to 15 years ago. Now, I teach this. I coach this. I mentor people on how to have the breakthrough that I've experienced now multiple times in multiple different businesses. And again, going back to it, having studied this in entrepreneurs, I'm telling you, the biggest thing that I think you'll agree with, and if you don't, you'll be wrong, is that when you look at it, some will say their next level to double is going to be this. Some will say that. But every single one of them, when evaluated, said they had to change themselves. John Maxwell calls this the law of the lid. And he determined that one's success in business is in direct proportion to one's ability to lead. Leadership capability is the lid. Your ability to lead yourself and others is the law of the lid. Therefore, your business will only grow to the degree that you will grow. And I know a lot of you are nodding your head, but the question becomes, right, are you willing to put in the time, do whatever it takes to actually change you? And not look on the outside, but look on the inside. I ended up in a place where I just didn't care about the scripts. I didn't care about how I sounded. I didn't care about how I looked. I didn't care about sounding like my mentors. I found my unique voice. And I realized it was worthy. And it turned out when I did that, I can literally show you from that day, within the next 24 months, I double my revenue, I double my impact. And what was even best is that I was able to double my freedom. It's been best said that there's two greatest days in a person's life: the day they were born and the day they found out why. And so I know, as I'm speaking to a purpose-driven entrepreneur, I know you're out there and you have this thing inside you. I'm telling you, your next level of success, your next ability to double, triple, quadruple the impact you're making is going to come from inside. Now, as a doctor, as a health advocate, one of the things that I learn and study in science is that you cannot be in growth and defense at the same time. If you study human physiology and you study the stress response, you know that you cannot be in growth and defense at the same time. Therefore, you've got to figure out how to get your body out of defense, out of that stress mode so to experience growth. This is any human trying to experience a higher level of health. Well, what's ironic is the same thing occurs when it comes to your self-doubt, when it comes to your level of confidence or lack thereof, is that if you want to overcome your doubt about yourself or your worthiness or your self-value, the number one strategy that you can focus on to get out of this self-doubt is to be in contribution. Because you can't be thinking of serving others and thinking of serving yourself at the same time. Isn't that cool? Is that when you focus on serving others and contributing to society in a person's life, you can't be so self-focused. So one of the ways that I learned how to overcome the self-doubt is to focus on serving people. It will be the catalyst that starts this process to eliminate the self-doubt or reduce the amount of self-doubt you show up with. And knowing that 93% of your communication is nonverbal, you got to get rid of the self-doubt. You got to get a level of confidence that when you walk in a room, people respond. Not by what you say, but how people feel when they're around you. This is the key to doubling your revenue. This is the key to doubling your business. This is the key to doubling the amount of impact you're making. Now, if you need help on this, I have created a 5-step method for anybody in any industry to overcome self-doubt and gain the confidence that they can walk into a room and people respond without ever having to say a word. This is where things become very efficient. This is where you step into your calling. This is where I believe you make the impact you were created to make. It starts with conviction about what you have, the problems you solve, how you uniquely solve them, and ultimately why people need what you have. If you need help with this, click the link below. I want to help you overcome this self-doubt and eliminate this lack of confidence once and for all, because this is the key ingredient for doubling anything, and most importantly, doubling the impact and the purpose you're called to make. It was a lot different than I had ever anticipated. I would have never in 100 years thought that the way to growth was going to be an internal game and not an external game. It wasn't marketing, it wasn't leads, it wasn't sales, it wasn't team, it wasn't location. It was what's inside of me. The cool part is you can change that like that, and I want to help. Dr. Dan, I'm out.